Well, 10 and a half years in prison, but still no murder sentence yet for the man convicted in the 2015 sexual assault and killing of Scottsdale resident Allison Feldman. Ian Mitcham was sentenced to 10 and a half years for sexual assault and second-degree burglary. That's after his murder sentencing phase ended in a mistrial yesterday, when jurors could not agree on whether Mitcham should get the death penalty or life in prison. So let's take a legal deep dive into this case. Criminal defense attorney Josh Rude is in studio with us now. This was confusing what happened yesterday. The judge, because the jury could not come to a unanimous decision, sent the jury back. Explain what happened.
Yeah, so around 2 o'clock yesterday, the judge received a note from the jury that said that they were at an impasse and they couldn't agree on the verdict. So the judge called in the defense and the prosecution and asked for oral arguments. And the defense asked for mistrial, and the prosecutor said, let them go back. And the judge said, I agree with the prosecution, I'm going to let them go back. And the defense said, hold on, if you let them go back, this is coercion because they've already indicated they can't agree. And the judge said, well, you know what, I'm going to let them go back. And you know what, there is an element, according to the defense, that of coercion because the judge is basically saying, I'm going to insert myself into this and I'm telling you that this is the wrong result. But ultimately, at the end of the day, she did call for a mistrial at 5 o'clock. So that is the correct result here. And so now there is a mistrial. And so the prosecution does have to start from square one.
Okay, so now explain what happens next and what do you think will happen?
So what happens next is Maricopa County gets one more shot at deciding whether or not they're going to go to trial again for the death penalty. Now, the defendant in this case, Ian Mitcham, has already been found guilty of first-degree murder. Now, in Arizona, you get 2 chances about whether or not you're going to get the death penalty. Now, we've already seen this kind of played out in another high-profile case, which was the Jodi Arias case. Now, in that case, it took 17 months before the second penalty phase was able to actually go to trial. Now, do I think it's actually going to take 17 months? Probably not. But it would probably take an extra few months, maybe up to 6 months, before we see a second trial go forward in this case.
All right, let's get to our next case now. A mother and her boyfriend are facing child abuse and murder of the woman's 22-month-old baby. Mesa police say the child was burned back on April 3rd when Alexander Byrne gave that child a bath using extremely hot water. The child suffered burns on more than 40% of the body and died 9 days later from sepsis. Mesa police say the mother, Arnesia Baptiste, was fully aware of the child's injuries, but yet failed to seek help out of fear that the Arizona Department of Child Safety would get involved. So if the boyfriend was the one who gave the child a bath using that hot water, why is the mother also in the same boat when she technically didn't do it?
Well, she's not charged because she's the one that was responsible for burning the baby. She's charged because of what she didn't do after she came home. So after she came home, she allegedly didn't do anything for up to 9 days. And again, allegedly, she just sat there because she was worried that she would get in trouble with DCS, and she knew that there were injuries. And we know that because of her search history. She admitted that she knew there were injuries and that but for her not doing something, that it caused the infant pain and suffering, and but for that inaction, that it ultimately caused the death. This is something that she admitted to law enforcement. And so because of those actions, she was charged with felony murder, which is child abuse and the death of the child.
Could the boyfriend argue, though, that, this was an accident? I didn't know it was going to happen. I didn't know the baby was going to die.
He will most certainly claim that. Now, prosecutors have a good case that it was not an accident. And they're going to claim that the burns were such that, to such an extent that that was really not likely. And they're going to have experts come in and say that the burns were over 40% of the body, that on the 10th day when law enforcement came in, that the flesh was falling off the body, that it was putrid and smelling, and that nobody could ever think that this was just an accident and that this poor baby should have been taken to the hospital immediately, and that there's no way that this could have been an accident in any way whatsoever.
Yeah. Just such an awful case. All right, Josh, thank you so much for your analysis on both cases.
Thank you.
Troy.
Yeah, interesting information.